K-trucks are getting banned, and the reasoning is, yes, absolutely ridiculous.
The owners of miniature Japanese vehicles are looking to a lawyer now for help.
The Department of Revenue sent out notices saying the vehicles aren't compliant with U.S. federal motor vehicle safety standards.
And it's leaving car owners at a loss and frustrated.
I had the vehicle for 6 months and then got a letter in the mail saying that my title had been revoked from the Department of Revenue and that I had 10 days to return it.
The government just banned one of the most reliable trucks in America, and not because they're unsafe, expensive, or bad for the environment, but simply because it crushed the ego of billion-dollar companies. So the corporate giants ran to Washington, cried foul, and now thousands of hardworking small business owners are branded as criminals overnight. The Honda Acti apocalypse. Small business owners across America depended on Honda Acti mini trucks as affordable, efficient work vehicles. But 45,000 Acti trucks are now banned despite their impeccable 30-year safety record. These reliable workhorses cost $8,000 to $12,000 compared to 50,000 plus American alternatives, making them essential for small business survival. The fundamental betrayal stems from American manufacturers lobbying federal officials to eliminate affordable competition that exposed domestic truck inefficiency. Internal Ford documents reveal executives complaining that key trucks were undermining profit margins by offering practical alternatives to overpriced American pickups. David Kowalski runs a landscaping business in Ohio with 3 Honda Actis that handle 90% of his daily operations. These trucks are perfect for my work, compact enough for tight spaces, efficient enough to run all day on 5 gallons of gas, he explains. Now the government says I'm a criminal for driving vehicles that made my business profitable. They want me to buy $50,000 Ford trucks I can't afford. The ban represents protectionist policies disguised as safety regulations, eliminating vehicles with superior efficiency and lower environmental impact than domestic alternatives. Small businesses face criminal prosecution for operating essential equipment while being forced into debt for overpriced domestic trucks that don't serve their needs effectively. The Acti apocalypse destroys the foundation of affordable small business transportation in America. The Suzuki Carry crisis. Agricultural workers use Suzuki Carry trucks as practical vehicles for farm operations, but 38,000 Carry trucks are now prohibited from rural road use despite being perfectly suited for agricultural work. These compact trucks provide essential transportation for tasks that don't require massive American pickups. The crisis stems from lobbying pressure by Ford and GM executives who viewed efficient Japanese trucks as threats to their agricultural market dominance. Corporate influence has destroyed affordable transportation options that kept small farms economically viable through practical vehicle choices. Maria Volkov operates a 200-acre farm in Nebraska with 2 Suzuki Carry trucks that handle daily chores from feed delivery to equipment transport. These trucks cost me $15,000 total and do everything I need, she explains. The government wants me to buy $60,000 Ford trucks for the same work. That debt would bankrupt my farm, which is exactly what corporate agriculture wants. Family farms are losing essential equipment for daily operations while facing impossible choices between criminal prosecution and financial ruin. The Carry crisis represents corporate agriculture's use of federal regulation to eliminate small farm competition by destroying their access to affordable equipment. Rural America faces transportation inequality created through regulatory capture that serves corporate interests over agricultural sustainability. The Daihatsu HeJet disaster. Landscaping professionals depended on Daihatsu HeJet trucks as compact utility vehicles perfect for residential and commercial maintenance work, but 27,000 HeJet trucks are banned from commercial use despite their specialized capabilities. These efficient vehicles enabled small landscaping companies to compete against corporate operations. The disaster results from American truck lobby demands for import elimination that would force landscapers into expensive domestic alternatives unsuited for their work requirements. Corporate protectionism is destroying small business viability by eliminating practical vehicle choices that kept service industries competitive. Michael O'Brien runs a landscaping company in California with 4 Daihatsu HeJet trucks that access tight residential spaces and provide efficient operation. These trucks fit in driveways where American trucks can't go, and they're cheap enough that my small company can afford a fleet, he explains. The ban forces me to choose between criminal charges and buying trucks that cost 4 times more while doing the job worse. Landscaping companies face bankruptcy due to equipment prohibition that eliminates their competitive advantages over corporate service providers. The Hi-Jet disaster represents systematic destruction of small business independence through regulatory manipulation that benefits large corporations at the expense of entrepreneurial Americans who chose practical, affordable equipment for their operations. The Mitsubishi Minicab Mayhem. Rural residents use Mitsubishi minicab trucks as affordable transportation for essential daily activities, but 19,000 minicab trucks are banned from public roads, while replacement vehicles cost 3 times more than rural families can afford. These practical trucks provided mobility for Americans forgotten by expensive automotive markets. The mayhem stems from domestic manufacturers eliminating affordable alternatives that revealed how overpriced American trucks have become for basic transportation needs. Transportation inequality is being created through regulatory capture that serves corporate profits over rural community survival. Robert Goldstein lives in rural Montana, where his Mitsubishi minicab provides essential transportation for grocery shopping, medical appointments, and work commutes. This truck cost me $9,000 and gets 45 miles per gallon, he explains. The cheapest American truck costs $35,000 and gets 18 miles per gallon. The government is forcing rural people into poverty to protect corporate profits. Rural families are losing essential transportation while being unable to afford replacements that corporate America demands they purchase. The minicab mayhem isolates rural communities by eliminating affordable mobility options that connected them to essential services and economic opportunities. Federal policy is creating transportation deserts that make rural living economically impossible. The Subaru Sambar shutdown. Utility and maintenance workers relied on Subaru Sambar trucks as compact access vehicles for infrastructure maintenance, but 16,000 Sambar trucks are prohibited despite their specialized utility for essential services. These efficient vehicles enabled workers to access tight spaces while carrying necessary equipment. The shutdown results from American manufacturers viewing efficiency as a competitive threat that undermined their dominance in commercial vehicle markets. Innovation suppression through regulatory manipulation eliminates superior foreign technology to protect inferior domestic products. Stephen Petrov works for a rural electric cooperative in Wyoming, using Subaru Sambar trucks to access remote power lines and equipment. These trucks go places our big American trucks can't reach, and they're efficient enough for all-day remote work, he explains. The ban means we can't maintain rural power infrastructure effectively while being forced to buy expensive trucks that don't work for our needs. Essential services are being disrupted by equipment prohibition that eliminates practical tools for infrastructure maintenance. The Sambar shutdown strands utility workers with inadequate equipment, while rural communities face reduced service quality due to vehicle restrictions that serve corporate interests over public infrastructure needs. The import infrastructure destruction. Import dealerships and parts suppliers serve K-truck owners across rural America, but 340 K-truck dealers face immediate business closure due to federal prohibition of their entire market segment. These businesses provided essential support networks for affordable truck ownership while serving rural communities ignored by mainstream dealers. The destruction stems from regulatory elimination that destroys established business networks without consideration for economic impact on rural communities. Government is destroying entrepreneurial businesses that served underserved markets through practical vehicle alternatives. Jennifer Anderson operates a key truck dealership in rural Iowa that serves farmers and small businesses across 3 states. We've built relationships with hundreds of customers who depend on affordable trucks, she explains. The federal ban destroys 20 years of business development overnight while eliminating the only affordable truck option for rural America. Rural communities are losing all access to affordable truck alternatives as dealer networks collapse under federal prohibition. The infrastructure destruction eliminates support systems that enabled practical vehicle ownership while forcing rural Americans toward expensive urban dealerships that don't understand their transportation needs or economic limitations. The agricultural abandonment. Small farms used K-trucks for efficient agricultural operations that didn't require massive American vehicles, but 23,000 farms are losing essential equipment through federal ban that eliminates practical farming tools. These efficient trucks enabled family farms to compete against corporate agriculture through cost-effective equipment choices. The abandonment benefits corporate agriculture by eliminating small farm competitive advantages through equipment prohibition. Agricultural consolidation is being accelerated through regulatory manipulation legislation that destroys family farming economic viability by eliminating affordable equipment options. Patricia Singh operates a diversified farm in Wisconsin where K-trucks handle daily operations from livestock care to produce transport. These trucks are perfect for small farm work, efficient, affordable, and reliable, she explains. The ban forces us toward bankruptcy by eliminating equipment that made family farming profitable. Corporate agriculture wants us gone, and the government is helping them. Family farming is becoming economically impossible as essential equipment is eliminated through federal prohibition. The agricultural abandonment represents systematic destruction of rural livelihoods through regulatory capture that serves corporate consolidation over agricultural diversity and rural community survival, like the working class betrayal. Working Americans depended on affordable K-truck transportation for daily work and family needs, but 89,000 working families are losing essential vehicles while being unable to afford expensive domestic replacements. These practical trucks provided mobility for Americans priced out of mainstream automotive markets. The betrayal stems from corporate interests eliminating budget-friendly alternatives that revealed how disconnected American truck pricing has become from working-class economic reality. Economic inequality is being increased through transportation policy that serves wealthy manufacturers over working families. Michelle Hassan works construction in rural Nevada, depending on her K-truck for job site access and equipment transport. This truck cost me $10,000 and does everything I need for work, she explains. The government says I have to buy a $45,000 American truck or face prosecution. They're criminalizing working class people who chose practical transportation over corporate luxury. The working class is being forced into debt for overpriced domestic alternatives that don't serve their practical needs while eliminating vehicles that enabled economic mobility. The betrayal represents systematic class warfare through transportation policy that benefits wealthy corporations while destroying working class economic independence. The state revenue loss, registration income disappearing. State governments are losing $47 million in annual registration and tax revenue from banned K-trucks, while federal policy overrides state transportation authority. These vehicles generated consistent revenue streams for state transportation departments while serving rural constituencies ignored by mainstream automotive markets. The revenue loss stems from federal overreach that destroys state income sources without compensation or consideration for local economic impact. Federal policy is undermining state fiscal autonomy while eliminating revenue streams that supported rural transportation infrastructure. Lisa Williams works for Montana's Department of Motor Vehicles, processing key truck registrations that generated substantial rural revenue. These trucks provided steady registration income from rural areas that don't generate much automotive revenue otherwise, she explains. The federal ban eliminates $3.2 million annually from our transportation budget, while rural infrastructure needs increase. State transportation budgets are being reduced while infrastructure needs increase due to federal prohibition that eliminates revenue sources without replacement funding. The revenue loss represents federal destruction of state fiscal autonomy through regulatory overreach that serves corporate interests over state government financial stability. The constitutional property seizure, legal ownership criminalized. Americans face prosecution for owning legally purchased vehicles through retroactive criminalization that violates fundamental property rights. The federal ban represents government seizure of private property without compensation while establishing precedent for regulatory elimination of any legally owned items. The seizure stems from corporate lobbying that overrides constitutional property rights to eliminate competition through government force. The pattern represents systematic erosion of constitutional protections that threaten all private property ownership through regulatory manipulation. David Rossi legally imported and registered his K-truck through proper federal channels 5 years ago, but now faces criminal prosecution for ownership. I followed every regulation, paid all fees, and registered legally, he explains. The government can't retroactively criminalize legal ownership to benefit corporate donors. This violates every principle of constitutional government and property rights. Constitutional precedent is being established that threatens all private property ownership through regulatory seizure without due process or compensation. The property seizure represents fundamental erosion of American rights through corporate capture of government authority that eliminates constitutional protections for private ownership. The environmental contradiction, efficient vehicles banned. Environmentally conscious users of fuel-efficient Key trucks discover that 50-plus MPG vehicles are banned, while less efficient alternatives are promoted, exposing environmental policy corruption through corporate influence. These efficient trucks provided superior environmental performance compared to domestic alternatives. The contradiction stems from corporate interests overriding environmental priorities to eliminate competition that expose domestic truck inefficiency. Environmental policy is being corrupted by corporate lobbying that eliminates superior technology to protect inferior domestic products. Sarah Dembowski chose her K truck for environmental reasons, achieving 52 miles per gallon compared to 18 miles per gallon for comparable American trucks. I bought this truck to reduce my environmental impact, and now the government says it's illegal while forcing me toward vehicles that pollute 3 times more, she explains. Environmental policy is being sacrificed for corporate profits. Climate goals are being undermined by efficiency vehicle prohibition that forces Americans toward less efficient alternatives. The environmental contradiction reveals how corporate influence corrupts environmental policy to eliminate superior technology while promoting inferior products that increase pollution and resource consumption. The innovation suppression, technology competition eliminated. American consumers are denied access to superior Japanese engineering through a federal ban that protects inferior domestic products from technological competition. The prohibition eliminates advanced engineering that demonstrated superior efficiency, reliability, and practical design compared to American alternatives. The suppression stems from American manufacturers' inability to compete with Japanese efficiency, leading to regulatory elimination of superior technology rather than domestic improvement. Innovation is being suppressed through regulatory protectionism that benefits inferior domestic products while denying Americans access to superior foreign technology. Lisa Nakamura owns both banned K trucks and legal American trucks, experiencing the dramatic difference in engineering quality and efficiency. The Japanese trucks are decades ahead in efficiency and practical design, she explains. American manufacturers can't compete, so they're using government force to eliminate better technology rather than improving their own products. American technological competitiveness is declining through import prohibition that eliminates superior foreign engineering while protecting domestic manufacturers from competition that would force innovation. The suppression represents systematic destruction of American access to advanced technology through regulatory capture that serves corporate protection over technological advancement. So the whole K-truck safety ban is basically Ford and GM crying to the feds because cheap imports made their overpriced trucks look bad. And surprise, millions in campaign cash later, Congress played along while DOT officials landed sweet industry jobs. They hid reports showing the ban screws small businesses, sold us a fake danger story, and called it public safety. Now owners are lawyering up, states are refusing to play along, and people are literally smuggling trucks like it's prohibition on wheels. But sure, let's all pretend this is about safety and not about protecting billion-dollar crybabies from a little competition.